Welcome to Inspect the Uninspected. I'm Andy Christie of Safe Homes Canada. We're a civil engineering based inspection company, home inspection company here in central Ontario. We inspect century homes, cottages, all kinds of crazy structures every single day. Home inspection is an adventure. I've done thousands and thousands of inspections, crawled through nasty crawl spaces and attics all over the place. Today, we're going to inspect the building envelope and structure here at this big, beautiful house in Aurora, Ontario. I've got Matt Reed. He's in training. He's going to be learning. You're going to be learning how to choose a home inspector and what a real home inspection should look like. What is the building envelope? I'm going to show you right now. When it comes to water entry in a basement, when I'm looking to buy a house myself, a basement walkout is perfect because it means decisive slopes at the side of the house. This house is like that. It has decisive slopes. It should be really easy to have a dry basement at this house. Water will not usually go even through normal cracks at a house that has decisive side slopes. Little rough concrete there at the corner is nothing. That was a corner loading crack. What happened was, at the time of construction, they likely loaded the wood framing of the house onto the concrete before it had cured quite enough, and it's still fine, and we're going to find that it's still fine, I'm sure. But you get that kind of cracking, this corner loading cracking. Those cracks are not normally entry points for water because they angle outward as they go downward. So as we move along the wall, we're looking for cracks, any other imperfections, obviously. What I expect to find here, as the foundation steps down a hill, the step down locations are stress points. So it's totally normal to find a handful of cracks, 2 or 3 on each side of the house, at the step down location. So I expect to find those. I kind of know there's no crack there. It's going to be right here where the wall steps down the hill. Hey, these aren't those deadly, what's that new poisonous plant everybody's talking about that makes you go blind and stuff?
I hope not.
So there's no crack at that step down location right there. What that tells you is that's a testament to the quality of concrete when they built this house. If you have a step down location like that with no crack, that means it's good concrete.
Okay, but what about the crack running horizontally? What's that?
Great question. That's not actually a crack. This is just a junction point where the masonry system comes down and meets the concrete. That's just mortar. They just filled it in. It's more aesthetic than anything. Like, I'm not even going to recommend that little opening there, this little opening right here, be fully sealed. It's not necessary. So we're moving down the wall. No crack at 2 steps so far. And no crack there, which is kind of surprising, actually.
Okay, so the cracks that I do see
Here we go.
are not to be worried about. Is that what you're telling me?
Those aren't cracks.
How do I know what's a crack and what isn't a crack?
It's just experience, right? So this is, again, this is a junction where the masonry meets the concrete. This is just finishing material here. It's like a mortar material or a parging material. It just makes it look nicer, less rough. Then you come down here, right behind the wagon wheel, we have a normal stress crack. That's what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I expected to see. You could have 3 or 4 on this wall and it still wouldn't be a concern.
Should we move the canoe and stuff out of the way so we can get a look at the foundation walls?
Great question. You know what? We've seen enough of the walls to know that they're well constructed overall. There may or may not be a crack behind the canoe, behind the pile of wood up here. Essentially, we don't care so much because there's no basement space underneath the concrete slab. It's a concrete slab on grade in the garage. Water entry is not a concern there. Great question. Every day of my life, or every week certainly, I hear stories from real estate people and other people that home inspectors were there for 90 minutes or 2 hours. Unacceptable. People need to be strong when they're buying a house. Demand qualifications from your home inspector. Demand that they get up on the roof, that they put a ladder up. What we're going to do now in a few minutes, to answer your question, by the way, Bob, it's a good half day, right? You just can't do a house like this in less than half a day. I want to show an example right now of what you need to do at a house that was built in the late 80s, early 90s, or any house that has wood on the outside of the windows. You have to, and a lot of people don't do this. And buyers get victimized. They find rotten windows later. We're going to get a ladder out and put it up to the second floor windows and make sure the wood is sound. Our buyers need to know that. Okay, so what we have here, we've got a masonry system down below. Then we've got this, it's like a cementitious manufactured board material. It's actually a pretty hardy system. Over the years I've discovered that. This is called a Tudor style molding. It's essentially 1 by whatever. And this type of molding is actually susceptible to moisture decay, especially if you don't caulk the joint at the top of the molding. Now, I've had arguments from painters and different people saying you don't have to do that, but then on many occasions we find moisture decay. Again, the most important thing is actually just making an honest effort to get up here and check it for people, because we don't want them to have surprises. And that little stuff like that, really, the proactive work helps keep money in their pockets later when they don't have to replace rotted wood.
I like a lot of the things you have to say, but I got to tell you, I mean, I'm not totally convinced that I need a home inspection.
Yeah, well, by the time we finish going through the whole process, I'm sure you'll have a different idea. We're going to look at every single piece. At this house right now, we haven't seen, it's been mostly a celebration down at the foundation walls, and it's a function of quality concrete, it's a function of being on a slope. I've never actually inspected a house where we didn't identify some kind of problems on the way through. There are always problems. People just want to, again, it's back to the surprises. People just want to not be surprised. Even if there's significant work to do, they're aware of it, they can deal with it however they want to deal with it in the context of a real estate deal, but it's about not being surprised and feeling victimized later.
Right, makes good sense. Can that eventually save me money?
Huge quantities of money.
Can I use your inspection as leverage on a deal or an offer?
It's not something we recommend. We're not experts in how much a house is worth. For example, if we go to a house and find that it needs a new roof, it needs to be reshingled, or it needs a furnace, or you have some issues, we will identify exactly what needs to be done. But it's not our business to say you should go renegotiate your deal. That's inappropriate. The real estate people are the experts on that. If you're getting a great deal on your house, the last thing you need is a home inspector to throw a giant monkey wrench in by creating this emotional wave where they think they need to renegotiate everything. Often that's a function of the buyer's personality. I would say our role is more to just try to keep it all calm and keep perspective and help people understand there's a solution for everything and there is no perfect house.
Andy, it's pretty obvious that we got like a really nice warm summer day here. Would you do the same thing if it was raining? What about the wintertime? What if it was freezing cold?
Got to go to work. It's amazing. A lot of people get involved in home inspections and they think that, I actually drove by a guy this morning and Barry has a clipboard and he's walking around with his clipboard. It's not a clipboard job. We're a civil engineering based company, but our tenacity to get up on top of buildings and under buildings is what makes us successful and what makes our clients happy and prevents surprises. I did an inspection recently in the Beaver Valley for a top bank executive. He was buying a ski chalet. Nobody could figure out why his basement was so wet. And by the time we finished inspecting the entire structure, including looking at the roof, the source of the water that was going down through the block was found beside the chimney. It was a metal roof, and much of the water on the metal roof was funneling down to the top of the chimney in a valley. And from there, I proved that it was going down into the block because all the drywall around the chimney was dry. So everybody was telling this guy that he needed to spend $10,000, $15,000, $18,000 to dry out his basement, and the primary cause, in conjunction with some cracking and open door sills, etc., but the primary cause was a hole, a big hole the size of a hardball, in the metal roof. And we figured it out. Why? Because we were thorough and tenacious and got up on top of the roof and didn't cut any corners. And I personally inspect about 200 century homes a year, and I would like to think we take the attention to detail necessary for success at those structures and apply the exact same process at every single house. It doesn't matter if it's a brand new house, big or small, just cover it from every single angle. And by the time you finish inspecting a house from every single angle, you will understand the cause of every single problem at that house, and you can present people with simple solutions that are usually not expensive solutions. It's a great process. Who needs an inspection? Everybody needs an inspection. Why do they need an inspection? Number one, they need an assessment of everything. They need to understand exactly what they're getting for their money. Following a thorough inspection by a qualified, tenacious inspector, every single buyer will understand every dollar they need to spend on every element of the house, and they'll understand the urgency level associated with every single piece of the house. The important part of that is it's from an unbiased professional, not someone who's going to make money when they do more stuff.